So hello my friends, in today's video I'm going to show you guys how in Affinity Photo to fix bad or poopy lighting. So here we are, a photo that I've already edited. This was just shot taken with my creative team about a month ago. So our model Sierra. The links for creative team and social media platforms and things of that nature, how you can find everyone that I work with, will be in the description of the video below. But suffice it to say, the image is already loaded up, and we're going to show you how to fix bad lighting. So I'm going to just kind of clear the toolbars, and you can kind of see what we're going to start doing. All right, so I'm using Affinity Photo, the latest version, and this is the iPad Pro, the first generation iPad Pro from 2010. We're using that. So today we're going to be doing this in curves. I kind of showed in a previous video how to do dodging and burning, which is sort of similar to this technique. To basically accentuate highlights and do contouring, but in today's video we're gonna kind of step back a little bit, and we're gonna fix really just inadequate lighting on my part, right? So, and that happens, you know, it's not perfect, it's all good, right? So we're gonna be using curves. So I'm gonna show you guys a before and after, so you can kind of see what we're gonna do here. So before and after, before and after, before and after. Let me zoom in a little bit so you can see that a little better. There we are. Okay, so we will delete this group, or I'm actually just going to hide that group. So what you're going to do, like I said before, we're going to be using the curves adjustment layer. So what we're going to do is go over here into adjustments. We're going to slow scroll on down, and we're going to hit curves. In here on the spline, you're going to select the midpoint, and we're going to move that to about halfway between that square right there. What that's going to do is going to push up the entire adjustment. The curves, it basically exposure, pushes up the entire exposure of the entire image by that amount. And then what we're going to do is go back to our layers panel, and we're going to go to the add button and empty mask layer. Next thing, we're going to go and we're going to do that exact same process again. Scroll down to our filters, our adjustment layers, and then we're going to hit curves and go back to the spline, and we're going to do select the midpoint, and we're going to go down to the middle of the opposite square. So what's this going to do? This is going to basically darken down the image by that amount selected on the curves. And then we're going to go to layers, and we're going to do add button and empty mask layer. Next thing I'm going to do, just for ease of use, to make it easier for you guys to follow along with what we're doing here, we're going to group these layers, and by hitting our group button. Okay, so I don't know, I don't really need to delete that. So what we're gonna do, all right, so we're gonna start with, for me, my practice is always fixing like the shadows first, and then I dial down the highlights, just so I can get everything kind of even, and then I go back and forth, and then I adjust the opacity. So first things first, we're gonna go down to here to the mask. We're gonna go to our paintbrush, and we're gonna hit the paintbrush, change the color to gray sliders, 100% opacity on white. And then we're going to leave our opacity at 50%, flow at 100, hardness at 0, so it's nice and soft. And then we're just going to basically adjust our size. I'm using my finger right now, which is kind of an awful idea. I should have gotten my Apple Pencil, but you know, hey, it's all good. I'm not tripping about it. So first things first, I always start with the face, and from there I kind of just go to the rest of the image. So I'm going to open up that shadow right there. With this technique, it's not super important that you be very specific on where you're applying this effect. You don't need to make the mask perfect or anything like that. It's just it's very simple and straightforward to basically just throw it wherever you need to throw it, and then just drop down the opacity after the fact. I want this cheek to kind of open up a little bit, so we're going to do that. I think over here is a little bit dark. We're going to even out that. We're going to open up the shadows underneath the neck a little bit, even out that area. I'm going to make that a little bit bigger and just do one little swipe there. Okay, now I'm going to look at the face versus the shoulders. This area right here is a little bit dark, so I'm going to make that a little bit bigger and just do a single swipe. I'm going to do a little bit of that shoulder blade right there, and then the in-between area, even that out. And we're going to come over onto her left shoulder, and we're going to open up this shadow. That right there and right there, maybe hit that in the middle as well. Okay, so obviously you can see that I went kind of ham, and it looks a little bit too overexposed, and but have no fear about that. We're just going to adjust the opacity of the mask, or not the mask, the actual curves layer itself, and then we're going to drop that back. So from there, now that I've gotten the her skin kind of evenly exposed and illuminated across the entire frame, from there now I start going into specific areas that I want to accentuate, which in this case is going to be some of these flowers up here. We're going to hit those flowers. We're going to accentuate the highlights in the hair so we can pop out and add some more contrast to the hair. And now this is kind of functioning similar to dodging and burning, which is a tutorial that we've done previously. I'm going to also do that in this tutorial right now, just so we can also accentuate that while we're here. I'm already working on this, may as well. Okay, so we got that to a pretty reasonable level. What we're going to do is hit that curves adjustment, and we're going to go up here and we're going to drop that opacity back until basically the entire frame looks pretty consistent to rest, I guess, relative to the rest of the image. Because you can see the areas that I've changed. I changed that cheek right there on her left-hand side. I adjusted that. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at the face and I'm adjusting the opacity so the changes that I did make, they look similar to the rest of the image that wasn't affected by this this particular technique. So that's what I'm doing, and we're going to just put that at 50%. I think that looks great. And let's see a before and after, which is that one change. Before and after, there we are. We're evening out the exposure. So right now we're focusing specifically on lifting up shadows. You'll see me kind of going over here. I'm recording to my computer, so apologies if you see me kind of reaching over my computer's kind of just turning off. But so right now we're fixing like any area that we think is a little bit too dark, and we're clarifying and we're bringing up and increasing the exposure of the shadows and midtones, so that overall the exposures is equal or even. The next thing we're going to do, same exact technique as before, we're going to go over to our curves adjustment that we did, that downward spline, go to our mask, make sure we have our paintbrush, 50% opacity, 100% flow, and then just vary the width, and the color is going to be 100% on the white side. So now the next thing we're going to do is just kind of be like, okay, what areas do we think are too bright that are going to be a little bit distracting to the eye? Right now, some of the areas that I'm seeing is the shoulders right over here are a little bit too bright. Collarbones are a little bit too bright, so we're going to kind of tackle some of those areas. I think over here is a little bit too bright, so I'm going to kind of just drop back some of these areas over here. Collarbones again, and those shoulders. I'm not really a huge fan of this highlight right here on her face, so we're going to tackle that a little bit and drop that back as well. That's pretty much it. I'm going to drop these flowers back a little bit so we can have our viewers focus on her face and not the flowers. The flowers were a little bit too bright. Drop those back. This flower over here, also a little bit too bright. We're going to drop these back. And you just kind of notice I'm just like tapping. Sometimes I will brush, but I'm not using my Apple Pencil right now, so I'm just kind of just tapping. I think this whole flower right here is too bright, so we're going to drop that back. And I think this flower over on this side is way too bright as well. We're going to drop that back, so we're going to get rid of that. So we can focus our viewers' attention on the face, not the flowers. We're going to drop these flowers back too. All right, so I think that should be good. I'm going to do a little bit of dodging and burning really quick, super fast. We're just going to just hit these hair, the top of the hair right here, just bring in some contrast there. We're going to just also hit the eyebrows real quick, and just bring in a little bit of contrast to the eyebrows. All right, cool. So let's do a before and after on that one. Boom and boom. And I'm going to do the same exact thing as before, and we're going to just adjust the opacity until we feel like it's nice and even. So yeah, somewhere 50-60%, somewhere right there. And then now let's see our before and after. You notice those shadows on her face opened up. The lighting is now more concentrated on the flowers in this area, as opposed to like it was kind of bright down here. Right here was kind of bright. Yeah, that's just poor lighting technique on my end. I did miss some areas, so yeah, and that evened it out. So before, after. Yeah, a lot of the flowers down here were a lot brighter than they needed to be. So that pretty much wraps up today's video. That's just all I'm showing you guys. It's very similar to dodging and burning, which is a tutorial we already did on our channel on how to do this. But this is now just, this is the first step I do before I get into dodging and burning. I know I did do a tutorial on how to do the contouring, things of that nature, but this is the step that I take before getting to that video. It's because I get right here, I make sure the overall exposure of the image is the way that I like it, and then I contour. So I just wanted to make sure we tackle a video on what that step actually is. At some point, I will be doing a full retouching course and some other courses and stuff on our website. So stay tuned for that, and you'll see my entire workflow from start to finish. Again, I'm not showing you guys every single technique that I personally use. I'm just showing you guys what's out there and what's available, so you can choose, right? You know, you have some freedom to choose whatever you think is best for you. I like using curves, but you may not like using curves. You might want to do this with just using the paintbrush tool and putting on a different blend mode, or there's a lot of ways to do the same thing. So this is just a way that I've found that this is super easy to fix bad lighting. So just using curves, it doesn't really take very long, and you can see the before and after. You can see the before and after on this one as well. So, you know, overall, that's kind of where we're able to get. And that's just fixing bad lighting. They're doing the exact same thing. I just went a little bit above and beyond. So, as all my friends, you know, this wraps up today's video. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, if you'd like to see something specific done on our channel that we have the skill set to do, we will do viewer request videos. So absolutely hit us up in the comments, reach out to us on social media. Hopefully you found this video helpful. Leave a like if you did, or a thumbs down if you didn't, which, you know, don't do that, but do it anyways. It's all good. You know, just stay tuned to our channel. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. And then check out our website if you want some more information on some of the techniques that we're going to be showcasing as we kind of continue moving forward. But until next time, my friends, peace out.